All right. We are going to get started on our new thing. So, I'm going to go pick up where we left off. Just so you know, we are on Freenode on hashtag RWX. That's our new IRC official domain. They granted this to RWX group. It was really a glorious moment. So come join us over there if you want to chat. Everyone has been enjoying the chat in a bridge that Vera's so graciously set up for us. We do not have a YouTube integration yet, so if you are here from YouTube, thank you for that. But why is that? Okay, so you know, the YouTube chat is not something I'm going to have to go read every once in a while. So I will do that for the next 2 hours, but normally I would not do that on YouTube. You're still very welcome. We don't, you know, a lot of people are coming at us from YouTube, so please don't feel like you're less of a person or anything for just using YouTube. Stream, however, the integration from Stream is built in, and there's an integration from Discord as well. If you go into the Discord channel and you go to under the live category at the bottom and you click on Stream, you can watch the messages if you want to watch that instead of anything else. Hey Peter, any one of these places is going to be a place to do this. I said at one point I wasn't going to bridge anything, and I've always felt like being more inclusive is a better thing, so I kind of went back on that, obviously, and so we're going to do that. So yeah, wherever you want to participate, and eventually YouTube will be integrated. It's a little bit harder to integrate YouTube chat than it is from the other ones, but at that time you can we can take care of all those things, and that'll work. Don't anybody get any ideas? This is not my home IP, in case you're wondering. That's my server. So we are here to go through the web book. I'm trying to maintain some level of fun here. I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to come straight up and tell you right now. If you've made it through all of this walkthrough of this book from Jen Robbins, in case you're wondering, let's go ahead and open it. So, learning web design. We're on. Let me go all the way to the first page. We're on chapter 12, so we'll come back to it. But just to recap, we've been working through this book very diligently for close to a month now. We've got several hours, you know, dozen hours into this. This is not a like learn web design in 10 hours kind of thing. This is like just have fun with this and try to make it through it. And there's no bookmarks or anything because I wasn't doing any topical marking at the time. When I started, I will get that in eventually. So we've made it all the way through part 1 and part 2. Part 3 is what we're on now. We've made it through chapter 11, introducing cascading style sheets, and now we're going to be going into specifics of CSS. This is by far the thickest chapter of the entire book. But I got to tell you, it's if you're just coming, if you're just a beginner, and you're coming to this, you don't need all of this, and you don't need all of the details of HTML. But this workthrough has become kind of more of an exhaustive thing than it just like an overview to get you enough HTML and CSS and JavaScript to boost you on your way, so then you can go learn more later. And you know, that's kind of a realization I've come to as I've been going through the book. We're doing more of a deep dive than anything else, and that's fine, but it's not for beginners. It's not a beginner boost. It might be beginner web developers, but not been a beginner boost. So I'm going to leave this all up here, and we're going to go through and finish it. But that it's one of those things that kind of wears on me because it's annoying. It's annoying that it's so hard to find good summarizing material of the minimum things that you need to learn in order to boost yourself off down that path and have enough to then go off and do cybersecurity or do something else. You know, this covers, you know, the content equivalent of like 2 or 3 or 4 college courses, because we taught one. And the college course I taught barely got into like a little bit of the CSS. And I know somebody just got a certification in web development from a university you'd know if I said it, and they barely touched any CSS. They didn't cover any JavaScript, and they touched maybe half of the HTML5 elements. So this is one of those topics that I'm kind of on the fence with. I do feel like you need to learn HTML and JavaScript and CSS in order to call yourself a technologist. I do feel like it's the first thing you should learn. But I personally find myself not a big fan of graphic interfaces in general. So I'm probably not the best person to do a web workthrough. But I'm just telling you that in full disclosure, and we're going to keep going through it. But lately I've been kind of regretting having to do cascading style sheets in CSS. Because it's not something that I find fun, and so I'm just going to put it out there. We are going to go through it so that you can understand what's going on. But you might enjoy watching somebody who actually they've made their life CSS and they're going to do it instead of apologizing for not liking CSS. Chat.rdbx.live, is that it? Are you sure? I thought it was chat.rdbx.gg. I don't think any of those are true, guys. So, wow, look at that. We got notification in Twitch right away. So, yeah, I think what you want is this. Yeah, that's the one you want right there. There you go. Thank you, Peter. However, let's work through this. We can't say that we finished it until we get through the whole thing, right? So let's do that. You can stay on Twitch if you want now, because we can see your chat if you really want to, or you can try the IRC. It's up to you. So we're on chapter 12 of learning web design, and I was going to show you the book. So here's the book if you haven't used it before. I'll turn off the dark mode. This is just using GNOME terminal, and we'll turn off night mode. So this is the book. It's a good book. It's such a good book. It's just so outdated. The writing style, Jennifer's knowledge on things is so amazing, but it's just gotten really, really out of date. And that's unfortunate because, books have a problem, right? That's why we need to make the knowledge exchange grid so we can stay up to date. All right, so let's jump into this. I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger, and we'll go through it like that. I'm going to keep the chat on the screen. I haven't been doing that in the past, but I'm going to start doing that more. And we'll get through this. All right, great. Yeah, you can stay on Twitch if you want for that. That's fine. Yeah, the Discord chat relay should be working everywhere for everybody. Yeah. All right, so what do we got? What are we on? We're on chapter 12, formatting text. So we need to pull up the website that we've been using. I did a whole video on how to make your own web server and do that kind of stuff. We're not studying data science right now. Please don't ask any questions that aren't about what we're talking about right now. Please stay on topic with learning web design. Thank you. If you want to ask questions like that, you can ask them in the Discord and other channels and stuff right now. Just for the next 2 hours, please. Okay. Normally that would be fine. And so we're going to go back to, I got to find the website. So we're going to go to learn web design. This is the page we've been working on. Yep. And there's other Discords there's other Discord channels you can talk in that won't be live. The only ones that are live is the live channel. The one that says live stream. All right. And then what? So we need to start up a server here. So I'm going to start /server. This is the program that we created in Go to serve up our web pages. I'm going to make a new window for to do our work and our code and everything. So we'll go back to learn web design, and we can work in here and change stuff up. And we should be able to open up our web browser now and go to, in my case, localhost 8080. I think that's the default that we use. There's our good old marquee. And we can look at anything we want here. I think we were doing Linux as Linus Torvalds. And we can spec element on this, and that will give us our console and the inspector for CSS, which we're going to be using a lot. And we'll try to keep that high enough resolution. You can also resize like this to try make sure everything stays responsive. You really want to have this open. It's going to be something we're gonna keep using a lot. And then what? So then let's go to back to the book, and we'll go ahead and pick up what we can here. All right, we have formatting text. Then you've got your feet wet with text. You're ready to jump into the deep end. So last time we got started with CSS. We talked about how there is it's gonna be hard doing this way, but we talked about how there, you have your HTML page, and some time ago we talked about how to link in a style sheet. So here's how you do it: link rel equals style sheet, href equals whatever, and that's all well and good. And we put all of our styles in one place. We talked about how the 3 different places you can put style. You can put styles inline, which means they're in the elements. We put styles in the styles section of the page, which can be anywhere in the page, but generally goes in the header. And there's another example of an inline style, right? Here's an inline style. And then you can do styles in a separate page, which uses the style link. And that's what we saw at the top there. So this brings in the style sheet from over there, so then we can just maintain all our styles in one place. Maintaining our styles in one place has been the way to do things for a very long time, but it's also changing now that we have components like things from React and Vue, where all the style, the JS, the JavaScript, and the HTML all go together. And that's a thing, but for this purposes, we're going to be putting our styles mostly in a separate file and organizing it this way. We've already covered what the cascading nature of a style sheet is. We've covered the syntax. So just to review the syntax, we have right here. We have the selectors, and then we have what I used to call a rule set, but we now know is called these are called properties. And this is called a declaration now, according to the specification. We found that out last week. That's terminology changes from CSS2, which used to be a rule set and a rule, and now it's called a declaration and a property, in case you're wondering. So, and then that's how we have all of that. And so now we're off and running on specific CSS properties that we can set, and we'll read about that. By the end of this chapter, you'll need to pick up about 40 additional CSS properties to manipulate the appearance of text. There are almost 200-300 different properties for all different kinds of things. You're never going to memorize all those. You're going to be looking up all the time. And as we get into this, I don't want you to feel disheartened by this. The best way to do this is to say, let me give you an example. So let's say I wanted to change like the font color. So I can say font. See how there's all the different possible font properties I can put. Some of them are combinations of others. Font weight is like bold, for example. We're going to do that one. And you can put a colon here. This is why you want to use the inspector, because it really helps you to learn all the things. You don't have to memorize them. This is one case where, completion, or I know sometimes I don't like co-completion, but in this particular case, it's very helpful. So you can change it to bold. And as soon as you save that, it should change, the default font for everything. See, it made everything bold, right? So if I get that off, it should take it back to normal. So that's how we're going to change that. All right, so let's jump right in. So along the way, you'll learn lots of stuff. We're going to specify classes by ID or class. The nature of the web makes specifying type tricky, particularly if you have experience designing for print. That's true. So font types and things like that. We're going to go through the same project and make changes to it. If you've got a project going on, which you should at this point, you should be like messing with it and playing with it. That's what makes it fun, really. The last project I did, of course, was the RWX Rob Live, which was just a really simple thing, but and it probably needs a tweak, actually, even since the changes to this week. This is using CSS Grid. It's a tiny, tiny little basic page with no images in it or anything. But this is the kind of page that you might want to start out with just to get your feet wet. and then understand how the pieces work together. Basic font properties. When I design a text document for print, first things I do is specify a font, of course. What's a font? Font is the thing that goes on the whole site. Not hard there. A word about property listings. Values, a small italic must be typed in exactly as shown. This is the default. Some properties only apply to certain types of elements. Inherits indicates that it's brought down. Initial, inherent. Okay, so here's the keywords: initial, inherent, and unset, because they are shared by all properties. They are not listed as the values for individual property listings. Initial, inherent, and unset. Okay, so that's good to know. So initial, inherent, and unset. It's actually important to unset things sometimes because you'll be inheriting something you don't want to inherit. And so that's the way to turn that off. Font properties at a glance: font family, font size, weight, style, variant. I mean, these go without saying. If you know anything about fonts at all, maybe you don't. Maybe it's your first encounter with fonts. A family is like the name of the family: Arial, Helvetica, Comic Sans, you know, that kind of thing. Size, you know, how many points up and down in size for a font size. Font sizes are almost always in, well, I should say the raw font size. We talked a lot about units last time. A lot. We talked at length about units. And we're going to be using REM units for everything, which are related to the size of the base font of the entire document. And usually the base font size, however, is set in pixels. So, and the default font size is 16 pixels. But really you just need to know that that's going to be a way for you to set the relation of the font sizes to each other. A font variant, and we'll get into that. I don't use variant at all. Style, I don't use that one. I use weight, size, and family. I don't know about these other ones. This one is a font like this. This is when you want to actually import a font. So font family. Let's go through them all. Font family is one or more generic font family names separated by commas. This is one you really have to understand, and it's pretty tricky because it you put whatever one is first wins. Okay, so that's really important. So whatever is first wins, and there are a couple built-in ones. So monospace, if it's lowercase, it's one of the built-in ones. It doesn't need commas unless it has a space in it, so that's really important. And you might your favorite font that you have on your computer might not be on another computer, so it's really important that you test this on multiple systems, or you even practice turning off each of the fonts as you go, so that you can make sure that all the fonts that are there are suitable for what you want. In my case, actually, sometimes I'll have up to like 3 or 4. There's so many sans serif fonts, we'll talk about that in a bit, that I deliberately put a whole bunch of them, you know, one after the other, you know, Consulis, Helvetica, whatever. Consulis is actually mono. But so here are some important things to remember. Arial is all caps. I mean initial cap. That's really important. Com rates, commas separate them. Font names contain a character, have to be in quotes. We just said. Why more than one? Well, some browsers don't do fonts, right? And you can put all the fonts in. Since we're talking about fonts, if you, I'm gonna diverge for a bit, and whether you want to use them or not, they're controversial, because if you use a Google font, you're forcing your web page to be dependent on another web page. But if you go to fonts.google.com, you can learn a lot about fonts just by looking around at fonts. So again, I really encourage you to do kind of the laboratory experimentation with different things, and try stuff. You can, you know, look at all the different kinds of fonts. You can search like Fira. I like Fira Sans. It's like one of my favorite. There's like yeah, Fira Sans, Fira, and you can like check it in. You can make it bold. You can like, oh wait, this, you can like change the size and just see what everything's going to look like. You can change the words. You know, you want to see your name. You can put it. One of the reasons I like this font is I like how the M is. I think it might be. Nope. I think it is Ferris. Ferris is one of the new ones. It's the Papa West one. I don't see it in bold though. I'm kind of wondering where the bold is. Font properties, languages, categories. Yeah. I want to say that. Is that the same one? Inspect element on this guy. And if you see a web page that's got a font that you want, you should inspect element on it and go see what kind of font it is. Right? So you can go zoom in on it and say, well, what kind of font is that? You can go down here to computed and see the font family. So this is Fira, and then it's all these others, depending on if they're there or not. Fira Sans. Let me try Fira Sans. I think this is Fira Sans, actually. Fira Sans. Fira Sans. And then you click on it, you can see all the different versions of it. Oh yeah, this is it, because I remember the M on bold. I like that one. It's pretty. Anyway, so this thing here is the weight of the font. So 400 is regular. Anything lower than that is like a condensed or a light. If you put bold, it will be 600 by default, or you can specify the weight in between that. And then there's like black and dark, and that black is usually like really, really bold. I love this though. This font's really kind of fun. If here looks at some of it's black font. Like the black version of most fonts is like really not very pretty, but I like that one. So if you want it, what do? You select style over here, and this is going to tell you a lot about fonts. That's why I'm saying you should just explore Google Fonts, even if you don't end up using one. Glyphs. I hadn't looked at Glyphs before. So Glyphs tells you all of the stuff that's supported at different levels. It's interesting. You might have to go look to see whether the fonts that you want particularly are supported at a given level. Anyway, it tells you who made it and stuff. That's important if you're going to deal with the copyright. Some of these fonts you can't lose them. Anyway, over here, this is how you put the font in your page. So you can just copy and paste this link, and this will download the font into your site. Essentially, it doesn't download anything. It downloads it for the web user. It downloads it into their web browser. Now, the reason some people would argue to use Google Fonts is because Google Fonts allow you to reuse a font that's already been downloaded. So if somebody else on the internet anywhere has used this font from this site, when they go to browse my page, it'll already be loaded because it's already been cached. And that's the value of a content delivery network. And we kind of have to talk about that really quick when we talk about fonts, because that's one of the main things that gets distributed over a CDN. And if you use, it's one reason to use fonts. Now, the downside of that is that your font is dependent on the internet. Right. So if they go to your site and they don't have an internet connection, or you have a progressive web app or something like that, where you don't know what those are yet, but if you have anything that they're browsing your website in a disconnected state, they're not going to be able to see. They might be able to see the stuff they already downloaded, but they won't be able to see the font that was loaded before, which I actually personally think is one of the downsides of the web. I think the web has got some horribly bad architectural decisions at the very foundation of it in the first place that needs to be rethought, and I am redoing that. We're making a new internet knowledge net called the Knowledge Exchange Grid. If you want to be involved with that, it runs all off Markdown and YAML. It has no HTML or styles in it, and that's something that if you're interested in that, hey W3Casey. So those are all different things out there to consider, but if you're going to play this game, you just have to know that you either have the font be a part of your site that you put in your site, or which has to be loaded every time somebody goes to your site, at least for that one first time for your site, or you can use a font that's shared across levels. But if Google ever decides to get rid of this font, you're out of luck, because that font will go away, or it won't load, or something like that. So that I have to tell you about all of that, because otherwise you don't really get why you would ever want. I mean, she mentions it here, but you really don't understand why you would ever put like 3 or 10 fonts here, right? And that's the main reason, because if for any reason this font fails, if it doesn't load or it's not on the system, this is the next fallback font. And if that doesn't fail or something, this is the next fallback font. And because it's lowercase, that means it's built into the browser. It cannot fail because it's built into the browser. And you know, there's no Arial, for example. There's no Arial on Mac last time I checked. That was just a Microsoft thing. That might have changed actually, but because I'm pretty sure on Mac it's Helvetica. But my point is that the font is different by default, and so you can specify a precise font, but you're gonna maybe want to get this other one, depending on you're gonna maybe get another one if you don't want to, and that's why you see people put like, you know, literally 10 fonts in an order to do that. All right, that's a lot of talk for that, but go play around on Google Fonts. That's your homework. Just mess around with it. Copy and paste. Remember, we talked about HTML links, so this is just a way to link that in there. Once you have that, then you can start using, I should probably duck down. You can start using, you know, this form of, oops. Once you have that on the system, you can start using, that font family. You can use Vera Sans and then Sans Serif. You can click on this and copy it and put it into your pages anywhere you want to put a font family. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it for fonts. It's just going to be so much better when you try to do it. So please make sure you're testing this stuff. So let's say I want to change my font to Vera, which I actually do want to do. So I'm going to use a Google font, just like I talked. So let's do that for the whole site. Now the hard part about this is that the font's not actually getting loaded for the whole entire site. It's only being loaded this one time for these things. And there's another way to include your font. So that would have, so the only reason you would want this way of doing it is if you wanted to put your font just in one web page. But we actually want to import this font for everything. So that's the import line. We're going to click import, and I'm going to just double click all this. There's my style, right? But that can go anywhere in any style sheet. So I can copy that import line. You haven't learned about import yet, so don't stress about it. But oops, we're hanging a little bit today. So we're gonna change those assets up, and then we're gonna go ahead and do styles, and we'll do this here style. Paste. There we go. And that came straight. So this just says import that URL. That grabs that entire that contains the CSS to import. Oh wow. So you notice how it only imported weight 900. I want all of the weights, so be sure you do that if you do this. So I didn't click on all the weights. I have to click on all the weights that I want. So they are not showing because I've got, watch your eyes here, guys. Oh man, I just do not like that. I have to take that off. Okay, so I want this one. Actually, let's just get them all, shall we? If you want to get them all, you can do that. It's just gonna add more styles. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want all of them in this case. It does make it a little bit larger to font style. You know, you have to take a little bit longer to download and all that. The bigger the fonts. You see what it's adding over here, though. So it's adding a whole bunch of stuff for us to do this, and you can download the whole family if you want, and then that will, you can actually put it in the code in the, you know, with your website. But instead, we're just going to use import for now. Still, select all. Oops, select all of this import line, and yeah, I'm going to select that. Go ahead and copy that, and put that in here instead. Paste and put this one off. All right, so I know you can't see that right now, but now we need to change our font family. So we can leave serif here. That didn't need quotes, by the way. We'll get rid of it. And we can add a comma in front, and we can put the new font family name, which is set right here, Vera Sans. So that's got a space in it, so I have to do Vera space Sans. And now when we reload our page, Twitch title still says break until 8:30. Does it? Thanks for that. Let me change the topic. do 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 do. All right, so topic. What is the topic? The topic is work through learning web design beginner boosts. Let me see. Nice. All right, so hopefully that's fixed. Let me know. Yep, learning web design beginner boost. Did it work really okay? Yep. All right, great. Thank you guys. So it's not fixed on Twitch? You know why? Because I removed the RWX thing. Yep. Yeah. That's not all that topical stuff that we did earlier. All right, let me just fix it. Yeah, I broke it. I did. I totally busted it. Because we were doing some stuff earlier. Yeah, I broke the integration because I was using the OAuth thing, and we did the OAuth integration. I have a new key for that. So sorry, Twitch people. I'll go change it. Stream info. It's not that hard to set. So just do that the old-fashioned way. Why is this not a thing? It have to be so hard. Stream update. Yay. All right. So back to our intro here. Actually, if you see. Now, when we reload this page, if it all worked, it should change the font size. Yep, there we go. And of course, you know, our font's not particularly pretty colors. I'm not going to pretend to be a master of design. This is my idea of good design. You know, really minimal and black and white mostly. I don't know. I like simple. So anyway, sue me. But this is So here we go. So see how this changed the font, right? And if you see here, it changed the font here too. I just want to show you what happens if I delete this font though. So I can go in here and delete Fira and you'll still get a font. See that? Oh, this time, oopsie, I made a mistake. We want to change it to sans serif, right? So now you see how it's sans serif? Now the effective font here is kind of interesting. The effective font in Firefox is the system default, which actually also turns out to be Fira Sans in my case, because I'm running Pop! OS. But that's not always the case. So if I wanted another one, I could do Helvetica. Is that a thing? Helvetica. Yeah, there you go. See, there's a Helvetica, right? I think, is Arial even on here? Yeah, it is. Okay, so Arial is on here too. I can make it Fira Sans. All right, so there's my Fira Sans, and I like it because look at this, the headers. Look at how much more fun these are. Monospace. Yeah, no, this is yeah. No, we're gonna do sans serif. So, but watch. So, you see how these headers aren't nearly as those headings aren't nearly as pretty, are they? You know, so I like Fira Sans. So this is a good example of how fonts work. Fira Sans, and now we have these really great ones, right? Isn't that great? Isn't that Brett? I love it so much. I love Fira Sans. I really love it. It's one of the better fonts I've ever encountered out there. And I love too. It does like lines and everything really well. Just a great font all around. So one of my favorites. Anyway, so we've done that. We've made our changes. We've changed our fonts. And we're good. So let's change. Actually, if we wanted to make all our fonts bigger, let's do that while we're at it. So this is something I don't know if she's going to cover it right away. Fira and Hacker, your go-tos. Yeah. Let's do, assets, and let's do, styles again. And let's actually set the base font size. So this is going to affect the size of everything going forward. So some people will set it to 10 pixels on purpose because they want it to be a factor of, they want it to be like readable. They want to be able to change it. You see how it changes the whole font size for everything. And we're going to change it, but the base is 16. Some people go up and more. Just depends on what you want to do. Whatever you change it to will change it. You know, this is not zoomed in. If I zoom in, and the zoom is usually shown up here, it's not showing it. Oh wait, wrong thing. So there we go, 110%. So it's a good idea to zoom in and see if your site still looks good when you zoom in and zoom out. It's just all those different ways of testing things out. I do want to change the base font size of my site because it's it's a little bit too small for me. For my taste, again, you know, think about this in terms of mobile before you think of it in terms of this. Lig Consolata, yeah, that's another good one. I can change it all the way up to 24, and that will change your base font size considerably, even at 100%. So that might be too much for you. Again, font, when you change the base font size, it does not affect the line height as much. You still have to tweak the line height to get things, you know, to look right. It does, and there's a thing called kerning too, which is how tightly together the letters are, and those are all things you can set. Which, you know, by the way, it's kerning is a big thing if you're doing print or you're making logos and stuff, because you need to. Not all the letters should always be where they are naturally. Some should be closer than others, and messing with kerning is the way to change that. And you can usually do that by holding Control and using your arrow keys if you're using a tool, any tool that does kerning at all, including, you know, Inkscape or VS Code, or what's the other one, Illustrator or something like that. So lots of information about fonts. We've got that's all set. Let's return back to the book and see what she's got covered in there. Keep us on track. So in the book, there's font family. We talked about that. I think we covered that well. Browsers limited display fonts. There's been a really big battle on the font front about whether to use a sans serif or a serif font. This is a sans serif font. This is a serif font. Serif, which, you know, means wing or little dash sort of thing, is a French word for stuff that has these little wings or these little extra pieces on them, and that's what you get. That was designed in, if you're a font nut, that was designed in the olden days to make up for the fact that printing presses were not really good at this. So by adding those little serifs, it just made it more readable when you're dealing with a printing press. In the 90s in particular, it was standard design practice to use a sans serif font for anything digital, because the amount of, for the ink, right? Because the ink would do its thing, right? In the old days, I mean, in the 90s, when you're talking about pixels, when you're not talking about ink anymore, right? Pixels would be grainy, because we're talking about anti-aliasing is, we'll look at it later, but it's the filling in of like variant gradients of a color between two squares in a raster image, and so it makes everything look smooth on the edges. And I mean, you've seen this before. If you ever have something that's not anti-alias, it look really jaggy around on the edges. And so for that reason, serif fonts were out of favor in the 90s because of the screen resolutions and stuff. In fact, Mac got famous and started, a lot of people don't know this, but Apple started Adobe. They bought 30% of their stock to get them started. I'm pretty sure it was 30%. And they got Adobe started because Jobs was so into fonts. You know, he went to Reed College in Oregon, and Portland, Oregon, and he got all into that font class, and he made the first computer with fonts on the screen. And from that time, you know, been changing TrueType fonts. TrueType fonts, by the way, there's two types of fonts. We already talked about raster and vector before. So TrueType fonts are fonts that are, when you resize them, they work fine because they're just resizing vector images. Raster fonts, which are almost unheard of now, are fonts that are based on pixels, and bitmap is another name for those fonts. And those are fonts that only display at a specific resolution and I think they're almost completely gone from the world. I haven't seen a bitmap font in at least a decade. So you don't ever want a bitmap font anymore. It's just a really bad idea. Sometimes though you need to convert what would otherwise be a vector font into rasters. So like if you're using a canvas element, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and you just have pixels on the screen, you've got to convert. You've seen, video games that have to have fonts on there. Well, they can't do fancy vectors, so you have to convert a vector font into a specific, number of pixels that to be included as an image into your thing. So that's this whole font thing. A whole rabbit hole that you can go down. It's really fun. But the main thing you need to take away is that in the 90s, serif was kind of prohibited because it just was impossible to read. And so sans serif was the way to go. That was when the documentary about Helvetica was made and a bunch of things. And artistically, sans serif fonts were the way to go. And then the screen resolutions got really good. I would say probably in like 2005, 7 through 13 or so. And it seems to me, just from following this, that during that time, serif fonts became okay again because screen resolutions were a lot better and people were like, that's fine. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like there is a reversal back to sans serif fonts. I read a blog once that was about this competition and it said that that ultimately this particular person said that they just were going to keep it because they like the feel of it. They like the feel of a sans serif font better. It feels more technical. It feels fancier. You know what I mean? And if you look, it's something like this. I chose to go with this sans serif font. I had a serif font before. You can actually look at the difference. Let's try it. So you can go in here and just change your size, your font, and mess with it. See what it would look like different, right? So right now I have a Serif. I can turn this off. And it goes back to the sans serif. So which one do you like better? And by the way, a little spoiler alert, one of the reasons that people are saying that sans serif are okay is because more and more people are watching, they're watching videos on mobile devices. So there was a period, Comic Sans, yeah, there was a period during, I would say probably from like 2000 to 2013, where desktops the monitors were good and people were using vectors and they were looking at big screens, and then mobile hit like crazy, and like really crazy, and even though the higher resolutions were there, people were watching everything on a smaller screen. And so it feels like, I can't confirm this, but it feels like there's a real resurgence of sans serif fonts because we're adapting for smaller screens, which means even if you have a high screen resolution, the smaller size makes the sans serif easier to read. This is really a matter of personal preference. I go back and forth through this all the time. So like if you go to any Medium blog, Medium requires you to use sans serif font. If you go to GitHub and GitLab, they're all sans serif. So the question is, which one do you like better? Which one's easier to read? Any votes? How's it going, RDBX chat? I do. Some days I like this one. Some days I like the other one. Comic Sans in real life. Oh, I think I've seen that one. Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, those serifs lead your eye better. Yeah, I think the serifs do lead your eye better. They make you want to read it a little bit better. I might have to go back actually. This is one of those cases where you can sometimes get away with like adding. So like what I could do is this. Let's do this. Well, that's not even Fira Sans. That's just Fira. So you can do this sometimes. Actually, you can kind of test what your site would look like. So let's add a new element. No, not to bigger. What do I want to add it to? Inspect element. Wait, where are you? Oh, class bigger. No, let's do. That's not even a heading. Oh, I see. Yeah, we can do this. So let's do this. Let's do font family. Fira. Was it Fira? I don't even think my font family is loading, to tell you the truth. I think that's Apple system, actually. Oh, it is Fira. Okay, never mind. So let's do Fira Sans. There you go. There's Fira Sans. And I just realized I have a bug. So yeah, my font's not getting picked up at all because I named it wrong. Silly me. Let's try it now. Yeah, that's much better. So I'm much more okay with Fira Sans than the other one that was there. So yeah, I'm really glad I looked because my font wasn't resolving the way I wanted it to. Serif for paper, Sans for screens. That's been the rule for a long time, but that rule changed for at least 5 to 8 years when there was really high resolution on big screens, and then people were using big screens. But I believe it's totally gone back to that personally. Seeing Sans in books and it looks so wrong. I know, and it's like, but yeah, I think this sans serif font looks really good. I don't particularly like the other one, but I do like that one. So this is when I saw Fira Sans, that just like won me over right away as soon as I saw it. I was like, that is a beautiful font. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go ahead and just keep that one. Anyway, and over here we have Fira Sans. The colors are kind of wonky, but I think we've covered a lot on fonts. We're coming up on an hour into this. We're only going to be going for 2 hours only. So, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. Let me, did I do 2 hours or 3? I can't remember. What did we allocate for this? Let me go look up our time scale because I want you guys to be able to take a break too. RVX rob.live / well, I'll just click on schedule. So I think we did, 3 hours. So we're gonna go all the way to 1, but I do want to take a break in there. So let's go ahead and do that. So why don't you guys play around with putting different fonts on your pages for a while I take a break, and I'll be back in 10-15 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a break right now. Actually, I'll come eat with you guys. Okay. So why don't you guys do that? I'm gonna go have a little bit of lunch. We'll be right back. Play around with the different font sizes, font kerning. We're not going to play with every single possible thing that you can change on your font. There's so many things you can mess with. The web fonts, we just talked to you about web fonts. Host your own, put a simple font, we talked about that. Upload to the server. If you want to upload a font to the server, it's just a matter of putting the files on the server like this, and then sourcing them like this. And I can't recommend that for most people. Because it's just unnecessary. You can use Google Fonts to put it in there, but if you want to be sure that font is yours, if you purchase the font or something, you might want to put it in your assets directory and then upload it using this method. So that gives you a good amount of time to mess with font styles and sizes and stuff. We talked about generic font families with the sans serif and serif, the straight strokes. We talked about that already. Monospace, which is what you should put all your coding in. Consolas, I use Ubuntu Mono. I use this down here that you're looking at is Ubuntu Sans. No, Ubuntu Mono nerd font. So it has the other stuff built into it. People care a lot about fonts. They ask me a lot. It's one of the main questions I get on the stream is what my fonts are. Cursive, this kind of thing. Yeah, Comic Sans is a cursive, but no. Fantasy fonts, all those crazy ones. So you learned about serif, we learned about sans serif, monospace, cursive, fantasy, font step strategies. Hey, just give me a sec. So there we go. So go ahead and add some formatting to your thing. I am going to go ahead and take a break. I'll be back in a few minutes, and when we come back, we'll talk about percentages and sizing. All right, see you in a bit. Alrighty. Positioned. Interesting. Okay. How we doing? How's it going? Aditya Mishira? If you follow the chat there, you'll be able to come chat with us. Chat.rdbx.gg. Otherwise, you can come on in here. Sounds and Brooks. Sounds and paper. Sounds on screens. Yes. The sandwich chef. I don't know if I want to open this. Are we going to open it? Looks pretty scary. There we go. Oh my gosh. Comic Sans. There's a lot there. The Comic Sans, since we're talking about fonts, this is not going to, they're not going to cover this in the book, I'm sure. There's something of a following about Comic Sans because it's kind of a joke. It's like a meme. So I make a point of having all the angles on stuff as opposed to just like what's in the book. And Comic Sans is, so there's a couple of famous fonts. Comic Sans is famous for being so silly. And if you do a search for Comic Sans, you'll see lots of jokes on that. And the other font that's really famous is Helvetica, which has had a full-blown documentary made about it. The one true font to rule them all, and it's not even a thing anymore. So, and as I said, people fall in love with fonts. So that's the first thing they'll ask you about is a font. On the screen here, thank God we have anti-alias fonts. These fonts look so crisp. In the old days, that level of font there's just no way you'd be able to read it because it'd have a bunch of little jaggies inside of it and everything. So let's return to the book and pick up where we left off. We're working on specific font sizes. So you have all of these. You notice I use a bigger in there or larger or smaller. These are kind of nice if you're just screwing around with stuff and you just kind of want to get it there. Percentages are nice, but it's like, well, the percentage of what, right? And providing measurement values, your units must immediately follow a number like this. So this is actually really important. Probably the most common mistake I make when doing CSS is to forget the units at the end, and then it doesn't work. Forgetting a semicolon is of course bad, but forgetting the unit at the end is just as bad, and you'll get really weird results. So just make sure you pay attention to that. No space as well, and that is the thing. If you're going to do 0, yeah. So for font sizes, you should almost always use REM. There's going to be a lot of uses of EM in here. If you really want to go down the units rabbit hole, the video before this one was last week. We spent an hour and a half or so debating units and researching units and discovering what were the best units. And the conclusion with regard to units was if they use a framework, they mix up their units. So the conclusion that we made with units was just to simplify is to use REMs at as much as possible, and to use the new VH and VW, which are there's 100 VHs there's one VH for every 1/100th of the height of the viewport and one for every width. So it's kind of a percentage, but it's in VH units. There's VH and VW, and that was it. Yeah, I mean, other than percentages, when you need them, if you're like doing something like that. And the only time you really need pixels is when you're dealing with canvas kind of things, or you're setting the font size, the base font size for the whole site. Other than that, you should be doing everything in REM, and including this. I'm sorry. The only place you're using EM there's a bug in media queries, and we haven't gotten to that yet. But media queries they tell your CSS to do different things depending on the different width. And there's a bug that we discovered, which I'd remembered from earlier. I'm really glad we found that. That affects anything that's using REM units for media queries. So media queries are the only thing in EM. Despite what the book says, I mean, there was really strong evidence, and you go back and watch the other video, to use REMs for everything, and then to use the VH and VW for other things. You want to stick with relative units though, because if you use, you don't want precise units almost ever. And so as we get into this, that's why I'm not going to put a font size of 1.5 EM. I'm going to put H1 is going to be 1.5 REM. And the difference is that the EM is relative to the containing parent font, which might vary dramatically, whereas the REM is relative to the base font size. And so it's a more predictable thing. If you decide that you want to increase the font size of everything in a block, and you have a header set to be like 1.5 REM, and you want to bump up the header size, you want to bump up the size of the base font, and you include the base font, and then the header is a child of that. The header, if it's an EM, it will be bumped up as well, but you might not want that. You might just want to bump up that. So the end result is, is to use REM as much as possible and let the base decide the result. Yeah, and this is a pretty common practice. There's still people who vehemently disagree with it, but that's the one that I'm gonna follow, and doing so, I'm gonna actually go try this right now. So let's change the let's set the font size for H1s. I think we have them ready, right? So let's set it. The font size for H1 we'll set it to, actually, what is the base font size? Let's go look. Yeah, so this is another case where you could just look for what the base font size by doing inspect. See what you remember we talked about where fonts come from, right? We talked about inline. We talked about in the style section of the page, or in a separate LinkedIn style sheet, but also user agent style sheets, and that's what these things are. So if there's a style someplace that's being set, and you can put it on computed, it'll tell you where it's coming from. A lot of times it'll come from, let's see if I can find one. Nope, nothing there so far. But sometimes it'll tell you the style is coming from the user agent style sheet, which is defined by the web browser, and they differ depending on the web browser. All right, so and here I actually was messing with the font size, but we go back to 16. I think that's what that is. It'd be interesting to see, actually. Let's try. Where's my header? Do I have a header? I don't even think I have one. Right? Inspect. Let's try to see. Inspect element. Okay, here's a H1. So, what is the calculated size on this? Browser styles. Yes, I want to include those. Show me the font size. Well, that's interesting. So the default size for an H1 is 32 pixels, and that's set by HTML.CSS, which is the default browser thing. It says it's set to 2 EM, which is not REM, right? And this getting into this business is a little bit tough, because as soon as you start setting one, then you kind of want to set all of them, right? So, I mean, there's a debate about whether you should ever depend on the web browser for anything, and that's a tough one, right? Because it's extra work to set everything. But so let's say I don't want it to be that. I just want it to be 1.8 REMs, and then we can reload our page. And it's a little bit smaller now. You see how it got overridden, right? And it made it a little bit smaller. So that's how you would do that. Back to the book. Measurement values, we talked about that. And units cheat sheet, talked about that. 150% size up or down from the elements inherited font size. Again, so percentages and EMs are inheriting from the parent, and that's kind of being decided by the industry to be a bad practice. So I recommend against that and sticking with REM. I'm curious though about the keywords, if they are relative or not. I don't think I've ever researched that. Using one of the absolute keywords, small, medium, or blah, most browsers medium corresponds to the default font size. Using a relative keyword, larger, Nudge it. Oh, wow. So these are absolute. That's cool. That's cool. That means even if the container doesn't change, they stay the same. Interesting. Larger and smaller nudges it up a bit. Huh? Interesting. So here's the units we talked about. Relative units. REM's relative, but this kind of it's you know, it is relative, but it's relative to the main site. You know what I mean? It's not relative to the parent. This is relative to the parent. We did all of these later before. Absolute. You shouldn't. I mean, all of it, unless you're doing print, you shouldn't use any of those units except for pixel. And even if you use pixel, it should only be for the base font size, in my opinion. So anyway, cut to the chase and tell you that despite all these options, the preferred value for font size and contemporary are the relative font lengths EM and REM, as well as percentage values. You can specify font size using pixels, but in general, they do not provide the flexibility required. Boom. And even now, EM is falling out of favor now even further. So I'll explain why and font size. All right. Sizing text with relative values. The best practice to size with relative values. We just did that. To maintain the browser's default size, set the default size of the root element to 100%. Huh. That's interesting. I hadn't seen that trick before. Font size 100%. Interesting. I haven't seen this trick before. Best practice for setting the font size of a web page elements is to do it in a way that respects the user's preferences. Relative sizing percent rem and EM allow you to use the default font size as the basis for proportional sizing of other text elements. It's usually not important that the headlines are exactly 24 pixels, completely, or that they are 1.5 times larger than the main text, so they stand out. To maintain the browser's default size, set the font size of the root element to 100%. It is also common practice to set the body to 100%, but set it on the HTML element is a more flexible approach. Yes. That seems the basis for relative sizing because the default font size for all modern browsers is 16 pixels. We'll assume our base size is 16 pixels going forward. I never heard of that before. That's interesting because I mean there's a question about whether the default would be 16 pixels. I've never heard of using 100% there. I'm intrigued by that. So we've had a lot of intriguing like side roads during this with people who actually are in web design on the stream. You know, we looking at some of those other things. I've never heard of setting font size 100%. I think that's interesting. I'm curious to see what effect that's going to have. So if we reload. Whoa, look at that. Did you see that? That was, whoa, it got overridden. What overrode it? What overrode the font size? H1 font size 0.1. Oh, right. Wait. We need to go back to the base. Here we go. Font size 100%. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I would expect that wouldn't change anything. That's good. Okay. And it says font size is 16 pixels. So now you know that even though that's coming from the browser, this is what's setting it, right? 100% of HTML comes from styles, which is 16 pixels, which is what Jennifer says. So REM values. The REM unit, which stands for root EM, is always relative to the size of the root HTML5 element. If the root size is 16 pixels, then a rem equals 16 pixels. What's nice is that the rem unit they are always relative to the same element. They are the same size whether you use them throughout the document. In that way, they work like an absolute unit. They're relative, but they're not. But they act like a relative. That's what I was getting at. However, should the root size become something smaller than 16 pixels, elements specified in rem values will resize according and proportionally. It's the best of both worlds. Amen, sister. Browser support note. Exporter earlier. Older browsers are not supported. Blah. EM units are based on the font size of the current element. When you specify font size in EMs, it will be relative to the inherited size, which is a bad idea. We're going to skip that. Tricky is that they're inherited. Blah. She's basically making the same point I just made. Yep, don't need to do any of that. Percentage values. Percentage values. We saw percentages used as the default font size, but you can use percentage values anywhere. They're pretty straightforward. In this example, H1 inherits the default 16 pixels from HTML and apply 150%. Don't do that. Same reason you're not using EMs is the same reason you shouldn't use percentages. So we're going to skip that. Yeah, working with keywords. Font sizes by using a predefined absolute keyword. They do not correspond to particular measurements, but rather are scaled consistently in relation to one another. The default size is medium in current browsers. Let's see. Medium is 16 pixels. I've included samples of blah, blah, blah. I'm going to start using these too. This is a nice readable way to do it. You really don't need anything fancier than that. Relative larger and smaller. I don't know if I would do that because it's relative to the inherited font size. So you can go in there and change your stuff. We did that already. So we're off and running to the next thing. Let's talk about weight. So doesn't look like there's any questions. So I'm just going to keep going. Weight. What is weight about? So weight is just how thick it is. We already went through this. We went through the Fira thing. We went through the Fira Sans font on, earlier in the hour. And we went through all the different ones, and that's a given. It's just how thick the lines are. That's it. Normal, bold, bolder, and lighter. I don't think I've ever used bolder or lighter. That's good to know that they exist. And 9 numeric values, 100 to 900. People try to put like 150. No, you can't do it. It's 100 to 900. So bold is bold. Bold is what? 900, 800. 700 is medium, 800 is bold. Right. Let's see. I've seen a few Google web fonts that require numeric size values. If multiple weights are not available, numeric settings of 600 and higher generally result in bold. Interesting. So here you go. There's your font sizes. You notice these a lot of times I'll be used the same. They'll use the same one because there's not a distinction between the two. I don't know if you noticed, but in my Fira Sans, again, I want to show you that. One of the reasons I like showing this one off is because it does distinguish between these. You can see there's a distinct difference between the 200 light, the extra light, and the 300. There is a difference, right? At every 100, there's like all 9 distinctions. And I really love that. I really love going all the way to like the really. That's one of the reasons I like this font is I can really dial in how bold the face is. Most of the fonts on there, they have like 3 faces. They have like medium, bold, and super bold, or medium, bold, and maybe a light. But to have every single one is nice. Gives you a lot of flexibility there to mess around with stuff. So that's one of the reasons I like that font. Font size italics. You know what italics are. We don't talk about that. I hate italics. Most italics is unreadable to me. You'll almost never see me read it. Sometimes you have to use it. One of the reasons that I really like Laura is because their italic font is readable. And let me show you what I mean by that. So let me see if I can find it, first of all. It was so Laura is one of the standard serif fonts that I really like. And see the italics. This is why I like it. The italics is very readable. It's an almost up and down. Doing the almost up and down. And if you look at other fonts, it's like, let me show you. Like, you see this right here. Look at this italic. It's really readable, right? And another one that does this is my other favorite that I use for RWXGG. Why can't I think of it right now? Laura and I want to say it starts with a B. What is it? I can't remember it. I can't remember it. I'm gonna have to go back. Let's see, rwx.gg. This one. Inspect. See, I love this font. I'm torn, man. I'm really torn because I love this font too. I mean, this is a good font too. I kind of freak out on fonts. I like them a lot. Bitter. Bitter is what it is. Okay, so bitter is the header and the paragraph is Laura. Yeah, I think. Right? Oh, is this also Laura? Oh, it is. This is also Laura. Okay. Now that's also bitter. So, but here's what I really love about bitter. Look at bitter's look at bitter's italic. It's so good. It's such a great font. I love it. This is actually a sans serif font. No, this is a serif font. No. Wait. What? No, it's bitter. Okay, so see, this is bitter. I really like this font. But look at the italics. It's like super readable. You have to compare that to like a Helvetica and see they're readable. It's not readable at all. It's a serif. Is bitter a serif font? I don't know if I knew that. So here's Helvetica. Helvetica Mono. Oh, yeah. Helvetica is a registered font. That means it's not free. You can't even use it. So forget that. You know, our font has to be purchased. Same with Aria. That has to be purchased. You know what? Screw that. I don't care if you're... Show me your italics. That's what I want to see. Show me your italic version. Forget it. You get the point. But so Bitter and Laura are my favorite. Georgia is another really good one. Georgia was the favorite for a long time in the as a replacement to Times New Times, right? But Georgia is a registered font, so it's a really popular like textbook font face. Times New Roman is the Times New Roman is like really famous. It's also registered. Times New Roman is the kind of thing you'll see on a newspaper. Look at how ugly it is. It's gotten really ugly. It's really showing its age. I mean, compared to Georgia, Georgia is just, look at that. It's just like, it's just like really sharp, really on. And look at that new Helvetica Georgian. Oh, wow, I haven't seen that before. That looks like really good. That looks like a really good font right there too. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Bitter and Laura. I mean, Bitter is just so pretty. And Laura. And Laura's the other one. So yeah, I mean, people don't know what, it's hard to know what font to pick, right? I like Laura actually more than Georgia because, or Times, it's super readable. The italics are not too funky. That's the big thing about Bitter and Laura, as the italics are readable. And if you go around on the font long enough, the web long enough, you will see italic fonts that are completely unreadable. And so I don't want that because I use italics a lot in my logs and stuff. Anyway, so some designers of such typophiles. I kind of am too. I mean, I was a big calligraphy nut as a kid. I was a draftsman, so after I used to, take handwriting really seriously, and not as serious as my dad though. Oh my god, my dad has the best handwriting you'll ever see, and very draftsman-like handwriting. And yeah, so yeah, just cool stuff. So fonts, so normal, oblique, opaque. I always mix up italic and oblique. The font size property to make it italic. We talked about italics. Bold and italic, you know what all that is. You can change your font style. So style is italic. Let's change something to oblique just because. Let's do that. I want to change something to oblique just because I want to. How's it going, LGG? Your 4.0 files, I really enjoy crawling them. I'm going to actually make that into a single dot file so you can travel through it easier. That's coming. I'm cleaning up all that stuff. So let's do this. Let's inspect. So this is Fira Sans, and I like me some Fira Sans too. I'm having a hard time making a decision on this because I really like it. But let's try oblique. So I want to mess with this font weight, text rendering. Let's just mess with the body, shall we? Let's mess with this part here, and I'm going to add a new thing here, and let's just add for this paragraph. Let's add a style property. Let's say what should we say? What should we say? Font. What was it? Not face, not weight, not size. Style, right? Style. Style. Font style. Italic. Boom. There you go. That's not too bad of an italic, is it? That looks very nice. I do not disagree with that. I don't know. Let's try. What's oblique? I don't think oblique is anything. Oblique is just like italic. I've never used oblique. Has anybody ever seen oblique be a different thing? Revert. Oh, go back to the previous one. I haven't used that before. Inherit, initial, inherit, and normal and unset. Again, this is why we're using the CSS in the inspector, because it tells you exactly what your choices are, not this inherit is already there, you know. Oblique means italic in French. Oblique. Oblique. Je savais pas ça. Merci m'avoir dit ça. All right. So yeah, we've got that. We've got our font style off. Oh no, there's an error. Danger, Will Robinson. Okay, so fonts are a thing. We're having fun with these fonts. CSS 2.1 small caps. See, I don't know why they would put an option. I know, I've never used it. So small caps. I was curious on small caps. Small caps is actually a variant. I've never used this. This is probably why Pandoc. We've talked about the Pandoc tool before. Pandoc Markdown has a small caps as its semantic element. I'm curious. Let's do this. Let's do font variant. Variant. Small caps. Whoa. Look at that. That's weird. That's weird right there. Oh my gosh. Why would you do this? Variant caps. Isn't that weird? You know what's interesting about it? Look at this. So the difference between that and all caps is look, if you look at the difference, is that the capitalized letters are actually bigger than the rest. So I guess there's a real reason to use small caps. Oblique's not the same as italic? I did not know that. And that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. I kind of like it actually. Just feels like you're shouting all the time. I don't know. There are tons of CSS setting for fonts that might be really supported by the typeface. This is true. Very true. Small caps is definitely one of those. Very true. Good point. Definitely true. Don't know, man. I like them both. That's tough. That's a tough call, right? I don't know. A lot of times you just have to go with what your first impression is. You have to like look away. Have you ever done this? You have to kind of like look away and then just switch it and then just see what strikes you right away. If you try to think about it too much or look at it too long, you'll like overthink it. I do that all the time when I'm making design decisions. Like overlook things. You put small caps with with a larger space between the letters, but just for title. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Hello Friend needs to be. I think you're absolutely right. Yep. I mean, I actually no. I could if I were to make it all capital letters, it wouldn't be the same. You know what I'm saying? See, like, look, if I go in here and I change, so let's watch this. So if I were to do this, hello friend, right? That's not going to be the same. It's going to be all caps, all caps. So this is the first time I've seen a legitimate reason to try small caps. And to tell you the truth, I don't use it very much. But I feel like I want to use it now. Because what you could do here is you could just do regular hello friend, right? That's what you usually do. What do you do? Hello, title. And then we could make that's all caps, right? And maybe add some kerning to that. Should we add some kerning? Should we do kerning? We haven't done kerning yet, so let's do that. Font kerning is cool. I love kerning. Auto, I don't want auto kerning. I want to set my own kerning. Can I set my own kerning? What am I missing? Oh, well, we haven't got there yet. I forget the there's the exact setting. I think it might be, there's something after this, actually. Font. Kerning. Oh, guess not. Never mind. All right, so yeah. Is it letter spacing? Is it? I thought it was kerning. Nope. Huh. Well, we'll find it before the end of the day or so. We'll find it. We will definitely find that one. Okay, so let's go on to something else. Pixel values for letter spacing. Can you really? Okay, well, let's try that then. So letter spacing, colon, let's do one REM. Oh boy. The kerning is supposed to change with each letter, right? Let's try kerning again. I know I've changed kerning before. I just don't remember how. Nope. It doesn't work. I think this has to be for... Yeah, I was going to say, this has to be for something else. So it's letter spacing. Letter spacing, 1 REM. Let's do 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. No way, man. See, this is where I want kerning. See, I want to be able to allow the H and the E to be farther apart than the E and the L and the L. The L's need to be really close because you want closer kerning when stuff has got that much white space between it. I do this when I was doing my van design. I did a lot of this kerning stuff. Yeah, that's pretty good default kerning. So, border bottom 1 pixel solid white. Maybe. I don't know. No, I mean in this one it's not really a title, but actually I want this one to be small cap. Font variant, small cap, and I don't want small cap down here. Where is it? Font variant. Where is it? You can go away now. This one, right? Where is it? Where did I add it? What did I add it to? Did I add it to P or to bigger? Bigger, font value, font weight, bigger. There it is. Font variant, small cap, go away. There. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's fine for me. I mean, I don't know. Let's try. I mean, let's try. So we haven't covered borders and stuff like that yet, but might as well throw it in there since we're doing it. So in this particular case, the bigger class, which is only the title there, we could do border bottom. Yeah. Instead of doing, yeah, I like, this is one of the things I like to do, and some people don't like it because it takes more space in their CSS. And then I want to do is it size? Width. Width equals 1 px. Uh-oh, you're using pixels. I mean, that's one case where a pixel would make sense, actually. Yep. I mean, because 0.2. I don't know if you ever want the size of your. Would you ever want the size of your lines to change? You know what I mean? I'm a scientist, not a web designer. Right, but I was just curious because it's like, right, and let's see, border. Draw them between writing and your CSS using a framework to do it for you. Writing around CSS in your framework. Yeah, I mean that's yeah. We talked about the tailwinds earlier. And I mean there's mixed feelings on that, but you got to learn it anyway. So style solid. I could say dashed. That's kind of fun. I don't know. We're just playing. Best way to learn is just play. So small caps. I like small caps. I learned something today. About small caps. Small caps are good because all caps would have put everything at the same size. Small caps respect capitalization. So there's a legitimate reason design-wise to use small caps. And I've never used font variant for anything before. Your title should span all the width. Yes, maybe. I'm not even gonna have it, to tell you the truth there. So, but yes, if I wanted to, I could make it do that for sure. And in that particular case, I might be able to pull that off. No, actually, it might look good because it would give some structure to the squareness of it. I go back to. No, I actually like it. I like what you're saying. We could do that. We could do. So we can make border. I don't know if I have to make a block. With 100%. Does that work? I think the container has to do it. It's a display of inline. Yep, I gotta make it an inline block. Yeah, I mean this is stuff that we haven't learned yet, but display. Well, what happened there? Something's going on. Did it restart? Oh yeah, it did. Whoa, that's like freaking me out. All right, so we want display inline block. God damn it. I thought I had, okay, display. There we go. Inline block. That's not horrible, ugly. I think small caps goes good with this title. With the title, for sure. Hello, title. You can do hello, friend. And the line help for large documents. Yeah, it does for sure. Yep. I mean, this one goes good. I think a problem is that this big guy up here is kind of in the way. We need to like probably chop some of the. I should probably chop. Oh, that guy can totally get chopped. He's got too much downsized border. But I mean, it's all stuff we can play with. You get the idea. I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's fun when you're working on a site that you're working on. That's your site, and you don't really care what it looks like. If I'm just doing some random Linux site, I really don't care. But like when I'm working on my own site. Hello, 57. How are you? So what else do we got here? Do we have any YouTubers? Nope. Okay, just checking. And yeah, I kind of like that. I'll have to make some of these changes permanent. Is Rob not in the channel? I'm right here. I'm saying hi to you. He can't read that I'm saying hi to him. Yeah. I'm definitely on the channel. Okay, so that's all good. Let's go back to the book. I mean, this is turning out to be pretty fun. I was dreading it, as I said, but it's actually pretty fun. All right, here we go. So let's go down. We got the CSS variant. Is this CSS 2.1 thing? That's nice. What other variants are there, by the way? Normal and small caps. Oh, there you go. Oh, you're behind on the stream. Okay. Hopefully the stream's not too laggy. Should only have like 3-second lag. That's what I've had in the past. So if it's more than that, we have trouble. Design. In most cases, browsers simulate small caps by scaling down uppercase letters into curve font. Yep. To typography sticklers, this is less than ideal. Results in inconsistent stroke weights. Fine. Universal extended. Ooh, font stretch. I have not used font stretch that much. I have not used font stretch. Now I'm fascinated by this. What should we do there? Should we put some font stretch in here? Font stretch. Ultra condensed. No effect. Bigger font stretch. There's no effect. Oh, first letter. Yeah. Yeah, I've done that before too. And that's a fun one. I sometimes like doing that. Yeah. Yep. Let's do font stretch. Let's do wide. What is there? Expanded, condensed, extra expanded. Expanded. Is that a thing? Apparently that's not supported by my font. So if your font size, your font has to support expansion, stuff like that. Mine does not, apparently. So there. I'm kind of liking this font style though. I'm gonna kind of keep it, I think. I wonder if one last thing. Where's face? Where's font face? Font to the face. Font face. No, font. Wait. I want to see what black looks like. Which is 900. Oh man. See that's something you would really have to. You'd have to adjust. At that point, you might want to do like letter sizing, but I don't think letter sizing is going to work. So. Spacing, sorry. 0.1 rem. Ooh, that's not too bad. It's just not consistent. See, I want to kern these over here, and I want these to not be kerned. You know what I mean? I'd have to do like each individual letter, which you can do, but that's not a thing. Is there any way to use tabular data without using pre? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know about that one, but I don't know. That goes away. That goes away. Oh, pardon me. And then what do we get? Okay, let's see here. We're almost through fonts completely. This has been kind of a font day. Which is fine. It's totally fun. All right, so dense, condensed, I mean, you know. The shortcut font property. I don't like doing multiple things in a row. I think it's a bad habit. If you want to do that, fine, but I don't like it. I think it's bad practice because you can't remember which one comes in what order. And somebody coming in later is not going to understand that in your code. I read that tip from a designer who worked in a big CSS shop. And they were like, you know what, you might think you're saving on space and everything, but it's never worth it. Because you can never remember the order and somebody else after you is going to screw it up. So the recommendation was to be explicit and use the font variations that don't put them all in one. So as you just saw, we have like font family. So don't use the shortcut font property. That's my take on that. At minimum, the font property must include a font size and the font family name. Omitting one or both is bad. Using the shorthand, one last tweak. So yeah, bold 1.5, markup. Blah, blah, blah. No, not a fan of that at all. But if you want to do it, that can be your thing to do. System for font keywords. System fonts, right? So system fonts are built in. Oh, that's interesting. The font property has a number of keyword values: caption, icon, menu, that represents system fonts. I did not know that. That's super interesting. Are we getting rated? We're getting rated from Mastermind? Mastermind, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah, we're just going through learning web design, going through the book. Uber King Kong. So yeah, we're just playing around with our fonts and messing with stuff. Great to see you, Mastermind. Welcome, Raiders. I'm just going to keep going on the fonts thing. No offense, we can see you now. I can read you, so before we couldn't. So we're going through the system fonts here. So again, inline. Here's a question for our new Raiders. Should I've read some designers say that using shortcut methods for this kind of stuff is harder to read and makes your code less clean. And the argument is that other people, they say, well, it's fine, you can read it. It's up to you to be able to read it. And so they do it the other way. By the way, are we able to read from the Raiders? We're not. I just want to make sure the Raiders are in here. Oh wow, yeah. I'm not seeing some of the Raider chats yet, so I want to make sure our new bridge is working. So, somebody let me know if the Raider chat doesn't make it through. It should. We have new functions, and now you don't need to join the IRC anymore. Well, you shouldn't have to join the IRC, but so far I haven't seen it. Somebody who's rated us, make sure say something. I think our bridge might be petering out. I want to make sure it doesn't collapse. So anyway, so how's it going, everyone? Good morning, by the way. It does work. Thank you for that. I just needed a little confirmation that the bridge still works. Yeah, said something. ABAN MX, did that not make it in? Interesting. All right, so forgive me, everybody, for a bit. I want to just make sure the stuff's still going in. Letter spacing. Oh my, look at that big fancy thing. Oh, it's because it's emojis, that's why. Yeah, the emojis get taken out somehow. It's really too bad that it does that, but I mean, I wish it would at least show some of what you've been saying. Yeah. That's interesting. That emoji made it to your screen. Did it make it? Animations and emojis won't make it, but most of the other stuff should be fine. So yeah. Use shorthand whenever possible. See, I used to use shorthand too, and I read a designer that said they were on a team, and they said it became a problem on their team because the more explicit, broken down versions just made the code easier to read, and it made people able to go right to the thing they wanted to change right away without having to figure out which one was which and what order and all that. So I don't know. That's a pretty valid argument. I'm going to try that. I haven't been doing that in the past, but I'm going to start doing that myself in the future. You saw emoji spam on your screen? Did you? Well, it doesn't come up on my screen. Yeah, I mean it shows up as, oh, the mastermind stuff. Yeah, that was the emojis. Yeah, okay, we're good. Cool. So yeah, so what have I got? Shorthand for margins means saves on a ton of time. Yeah, from margin and padding. Yeah. Margin and padding, I can see that. Whenever I do margin, I always have to remember it goes around in clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever, clockwise position. I always forget that. Just add a balloon version that raises the screen of the stream. The screen stream. I like the fact that it does not build IRC. Yeah. Yep. How's it going, Marco? Imagine you have high border left width. Yeah. Border left color, etc. Yeah. I mean, that's why I asked the question. It's just, it's kind of a debate, right? Either way is completely correct. So it's more of a stylistic thing and a team thing, right? If you're into that, of course, the other one is fewer bytes to send down the pipe too, if that's of concern. So advanced typography with CSS3. Now you have made a good basic toolkit. If you want to get fancy, you should read up on all the properties of CSS font module, and you can play around with that. You can go read the spec W3. Font variant, collection of font variant prefix properties in CSS3 aims to give designers and developers access to special characters, glyphs, and fonts that can make the typography on a page more sophisticated. This is interesting, and this plays into the whole emoji fontastic kind of thing. And if this doesn't cover fontastic, we definitely need to cover fontastic before we leave this topic. How many of you have played with fontastic? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I want to make like some of those translations that like show you raising your hand, like raise hand or something. So font kerning, yeah, okay, kerning is for glyphs. Metadata. I mean, I love kerning, but it seems like it's not particularly obvious to do. They're going back to text color here. Since they talked about glyphs, and I don't think they talk about fontastic at all, I just want to take a side track to show you about this in case you don't know about it. You may not already know about it, but you guys, fontastic. So fontastic is oh, that's not it. That's not the same one. I don't think that's the same one anyway. I hope it doesn't have something bad on it. Nope, it's not. Add vector icons to your website. Yes, this is it. Okay, so it's funny because there's been historically. Let me trace the history for you a bit here. So, a long time ago, you just put your font in, and whether you pulled it from a CDN or you pulled it from your local machine, it was your local whatever your source code is. That was the large argument, and then this kind of focus on really fast mobile first, less load time started, and it's loading images takes a long time, and the time to life for a page is largely affected by how many requests it's making. Back then it was not even really asynchronous and all that. So little tiny pictures that would be used as menus and stuff became an issue. Because they're all little sprites that had to be loaded. So, and this is way before SVG was a thing. So at the same time, about the same time, this is well after the whole raster font kind of died, bitmap fonts kind of died out. I want to say this was 2003, something like that, 2002. And definitely by 2013. Another thing that happened in 2013 was the death of skeuomorphic design. And if you ever get it, this is sort of related to the font thing, but all of this kind of happened around the same time. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is as good a time as any to talk about this. Skeuomorphic versus flat. It kind of reminded of this by this page. This page is very much flat design. See how everybody's all flat. There's no shadows and everything. So there was a massive battle in the design industry. And it was actually an award-winning site that was made. Skeuomorphic with that design. Is this the one? There's a site that there's one of the top, won a Webby award and everything. It's like a game you can play. Skeuomorphic versus flat. You notice these are all really old. Why would this be in 2020? This decision's already been made, people. So skeuomorphic is when you make things that look like things in the real world. Mac made this famous by making compasses that had intricate looks of glass on them and everything. That logo that I did for modules that I showed you guys earlier this morning. This is kind of skeuomorphic. Actually, no, it was a tech retreat. So I give you an example of a skeuomorphic that I did. So this is a skeuomorphic logo that I did for a company I was working for. It's got that sense that it's there, and it's got, height and everything and depth. And flat is just flat. And you remember Google actually flattened all their icons and everything else. And God, I really want to find that one thing. But I promise you, this relates to fonts as we get going on as well, because all of this stuff happened around the same time. It was almost like there was a design reawakening in 2012, 2011, 2013, something around that time. There was just like there's just like real emphasis on design and simple design, and I would argue that was the birth of material design. It hadn't really manifested itself at the time, but that was when it started, and everybody was just done with design that took too much energy. Both for the computer and the humans making it, and so they went to simple emojis and a lot of flat stuff. And there's actually a really fun website about this. I'm just really trying to find it. I might have to go to the web archive to find it. So it was skeuomorphic. If anybody finds it, let me know. Morphic versus flat war battle. I wonder if it's. Pros and cons, no, flat, skeuomorphic, flat versus material versus skeuomorphic. That's a new debate. That would be interesting. Comparative study. There it is. Please let this be the one. That's 2013. I called it. It was about 2013 when it happened too. Yeah. I hope this is the one. There's like a really fun. There's a really, really fun one. See that this is skeuomorphic. And come on, where are you? Where's the battle? Flat design fights back. Come on, where's the battle? It's like I almost think these guys were playing off of the come on, Claire, you let me down there. Where's the skeuomorphic? It's like so good. Is this it? Please let this be it. No, this is not it. 2014. Oh, there it is. There it is. This one right here. See this? Flat versus realism. Please be there. Please be there. Damn it. Oh, that's right. I have to have flash. Oh, because of the filter. What did I filter? Pete Lowe's ad tracking server list. Easy list. Disable strict blocking temporarily. Oh God, I'm a little afraid. I don't invade my computer with your oh, of course. Of course. Flat versus realism. Wait, this calls for this site was so cool. I can't believe it's gone now. Does anybody know where it is? Flat versus Realism archive. We should go find it. Flat versus Realism. I know I'm on a rabbit hole. I do that. But yeah, you're going to love this. I promise. It's just way too much fun. I mean, if you're going to talk about design, why not talk about battles? Flat versus Realism. It's like a whole story. And it won a Webby Award. It was so cool. You had to scroll to watch the story too. Flat versus Realism. I mean, they probably got the bandwidth on it. Was probably insane. Was probably insane. I'm gonna search for web archive. I don't know. Let's see what we can find. This is. Oh, damn it. Wait. Are you gonna troll me again? Yes. Example of flat versus design. No. Oh. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend on this. Okay, let's just go to web archive. I doubt this is going to support it though, because there's a lot of JavaScript on it. Web archive. What is it called? It's called web archive, right? The Wayback Machine. There we go. So go back to the web. You guys know about the Wayback Machine, right? This is how you can check whether your site's going to work later. Like if you do something in React or something and you want to look at it like, hey, my site is completely unsaved by the web archive. Looks like I don't exist anymore because I wanted some stupid widget in my blog. Anyway, so we can go search for, what is it? Flat versus realism.com. Please, please work. Please work. Did I spell that right? Oh, wow. Look at that. Explore captures for this results. See, look at that. All those captures. We want this one, though. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. January 2014. Please work. Please work. I'm begging you to work. Why are you not working? Are you loading? Are you loading? You're just not telling me you're loading? Alright, how about now? Oh, I know why. Yep. Because this has got some sort of pop-up thing going on. Snapshot. Ooh. Please work, please work, please work, please work. Waiting for web archive. It's going to take forever because it's like not really optimized. Oh, I'm going to have to turn off all of this fanciness though. 2013 was the year of flat versus flattle versus. It's not going to do it, is it? Dang it. It's still loading. Maybe we might have a chance. We might have a chance. Somebody should have archived this. Would you host a web archive yourself? I don't know. 13. What's going on here? It's still doing stuff. Oh my god. This is definitely it. I just don't think it's going to work. It's got so much JavaScript on it. I don't know if it's going to work. It's got so much stuff. Yeah, it's loading. Right now it's loading up. It's definitely not working. It's like downloading a bunch of stuff in the background. God, it's so sad that it's going to take so long for it. Oh, maybe we have a chance. Oh, please work. It's coming through. It's taking forever. To do your own web archive? I would not do my own web archive. No. That would take too hard. But you know what? If you put it on GitHub or something like that, it'll be around forever. They're not going to get rid of your stuff. Like if you wanted to host a site. I know. I could totally host this site. You could go download all the content off this site and make it work. Yeah. All right. So, oh, it's working. Wait, can I get rid of this stupid thing on the top? How do I do that? This is harshing my. Oh, okay. All right. So I'm gonna do this. All right. So, wow. At the time, it only had it like won all kinds of awards. So, 2013. Wait, I need to change my topic. I need to change my topic because I want to be able to find this later. Topic. Flat design versus realism. How do you spell skeuomorphic? Skeuomorphic. I think that's how you spell it. Did I spell it wrong? Alright, there we go. Alright, so quit that one. I'll put this back in here. Paste. Alright. Topic. We're going to change the topic real quick if you don't mind. Oh man, they want me to re-authenticate? Which wants me to re-authenticate? Please tell me I didn't lose my thing on that. Oh gosh, that's too scary. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. Here, give me 1 second. I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. I'll authenticate. Because I don't want to lose it. It took me so long to get it. It's worth it, I promise. You're going to like, oh, that wasn't worth it. Why are we doing this? I am authorizing all kinds of stuff. Authorize. Alright, fine. Fine. Finally, a Twitch bridge. Yes, how's it going, VMT? You can thank Vera for that. Yep, we're gonna get rid of that one there. All right, so enough of that. Enough of that. Here we go. Here's back to skeuomorphic. Back to y'all's chat. And turn this back on. Can you try streetcanvas.com? Haha. So you scroll down. 2013 was the battle of flat versus realism. And see. And then you're gonna scroll. It's all about the scrolling. It's like one of these scroll things. Some time ago, a king named Realism dominated the world of digital design. See how it's all embedded? And there's your skeuomorphic for you. Look at that. It's like something straight off of a Mac toolbar, right? It has music and everything. Can you guys hear the music? I can't. Wait. All I hear is raindrops. Is there something besides raindrops? I don't hear it. It has music, but I don't see it. Yeah, I don't think the music's gonna work, but oh well. So skeuomorphic, just the rain, yeah. So here you go. Here's the king, right? See all these icons? Look at them. Realistic luminous effects. And then what? But a rationalist leader named Flat imagined that the design of the world could be changed. And this is why I thought of this, because we were on Fantastic, and does that guy look familiar? The whole world has been flat since 2014 in more ways than one, right? So we keep going. And here goes. He's going to destroy the world of the skeuomorphic. So the battle began. My fingers are going to get tired of all this like, it's like actual the sound. I'm making sound effects because you can't hear the sound. In 2013, Flat defeated the old empire. Incidentally, in May 2013 was the first year that SkillStack started. That's as soon as I started mentoring. Flat Design won and took over the banner. And the King Realism was exiled. This is so great. I'm glad we found this. Boom, 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 boom. See, look at. Here's all the flat things. I love this. What do you mean? The ear world has been flat for 6,000 years ever since it was created. Exactly. So look at all the flattening of everything. So like, there's the Android icon, right? The Twitter icon. Like everything's flat now, right? The clouds are flat. It's all flat. Flat, flat, flat. In the world of flat, here we go. The Flat Converter 2013, everything had been flattened every time, every place, every being. Oh, here it comes. That's the bad sound. I just need to make a better sound effect. I need to invoke my like 9-year-old sound effects engage. Like but the old king had found new followers. Uh-oh, here he comes. The skeuomorphic king. Look at those teeth. It's just so cool. I love this thing. It's so cool. And now he has returned to exact revenge. He's like, this is every single thing. This is all done with mouse effects. It's just crazy. So Flat, choose a side to win the battle. Now, I don't think this is going to work, but you can actually fight. There's a part right here where you could actually fight. Flat, the philosophy, simplicity, slogan. Without effects, you are nothing. Weight 50k, power minimal ray. He has his minimal ray. Wait. I need to power up here. And or you can do realism, intimate reality, bevel and emboss in your face. Weight 2 megabytes, 50k. power glow shot. Select your pair. If this works, I'm gonna be super surprised. Who do we want to play? Should we play flat? Obviously, I want to play Realism. Because why not? Realism. All right, Realism. You're on my team. I forgot how to play. It's actually working. I cannot believe this is working. By the way, this is one of the first really successful things that was made without Flash. Oh my God, it's actually gonna work. I am so totally impressed by these creators that this thing survived the archive. Because most stuff doesn't. Most stuff does not survive the archive at all. Wait, what am I supposed to do? QWED. Man, what's the frick? That's not normal key commands. High kick. Okay, low kick is A. High kick is S. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how well I'm going to do. So, oh, moving is over here. All right. Oh, defense. That's a good one. Okay, let's do defense. I'm going to do defense. So, you didn't think you were going to play a game today, did you? Oh my gosh. Sorry for that. It looks like the sound does work after all. Wait. Wait, where's my rain? I got to turn the rain off because it's like making me mess up here. Wait, I want to hear this.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Fight!
Oh no! I'm getting my butt kicked. Dang it! Dude, this is insane. Oh wait, that was cool. How did I do? How did I do that? I cannot believe this works in 2021. I need to punch. I'm getting my butt kicked. It's only appropriate that I played the king because Flat is kicking my butt. Alright, I want to do a kick. Wait. Come on, where's my kick? Where's my kick? It was fun while it lasted. It was very fun while it lasted. What did I end up doing? The server document was not found. What do you mean it wasn't found? I just found it the whole time. Oh, I have to redo the whole thing now. Dagnabbit. Well, you guys can have fun with that. I got to bookmark that. Where is that possible to bookmark? Yes, I'm gonna bookmark you. I'll come back to you later. I mean, you know, so have fun with that one. Do you guys want the link? Here you go. I'll give you the link. Of course you do. Of course you do. You got to go see who wins versus flat versus skeuomorphic. Realistic. Bye, Spacenaut. Yeah, we're winding down here. I think I do want to finish up with the font thing though, and just make my point about Fantastic. And we'll do that. Oh boy, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. All right, so let me give you this link here. Here's a web archive link if you want to go to the flat versus real. It's super fun. And so the point of all that was because of this. We're talking about fonts, and we're talking about creating your own fonts, and why a thing like Fantastic became a thing. Because one of the things that came about because of the vector art that was allowed in the web browser is everyone's like, why would I do raster GIF images? Every time you want to use, we talked about raster versus vector, right? And raster is, if you want skeuomorphic, you're always using raster, almost always, not always, but almost always. And at least it were then. And you know, vector, flat stuff is much easier to do with vector because there's, you know, simple gradients and things like that. So along came this idea of like, well, what if we made it so people could put a whole bunch of little icons inside of a single font, and then they could load that font and then just put those graphs in there, and they would use, there's all kinds of code to do this, but what it would normally do is it make a span. You know what that is, right? It would make a span, and then it would make the prefix or the post letter the font. And so you could put a little image in line as a span and have it look like an emoji in line with the rest of your stuff without having to invoke having a little picture there that would be a secondary request. So you would put like a dozen or so emojis. I mean, you know, little glyphs. The downside of this was that you just had one color, right? This is, before emojis really hit big. They were big, but they weren't really, really big. And 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 so you see people today just put emojis in for things like that. But yeah, the downside of this is that all of your images and everything had to be, if you're going to do this method, you had a monotone color, and so that was kind of annoying. And I think Fontastic has been a big thing for a very long time, but I would say that within the last couple of years, we've seen a resurgence of use of SVG images now that you can use SVG inline. So what people will do is they'll rather than go to the extra weight of pulling in an extra font, they'll make an SVG image that loads as a part of the web page, and then it's just available anytime to reuse. So, and SVGs can be animated, they can be multiple colors, and so it's kind of like we went from no fonts and little bitmap things embedded all over the place with multiple requests to an era where we had the emergence of SVG and fonts like Fontastic, and people were making their own fonts. And now we're kind of like pushing through to just SVG for everything. And I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that, the use of Fontastic is declining, for the practicality of just using SVG images that are loaded inline, and particularly now that you can use variables. So one of the, good example of, we haven't, this is getting into it a little bit more than I wanted to, but if you look at the, over here, there, you can't really see it, but, I do have a SVG image, loaded. So here's one. So here is this, now that you have variables, right? You can put variables anywhere. So I can use an SVG image as an embedded graphic. Like I have a scissors image, I can put that anywhere. So Fontastic has kind of gone the way of this kind of thing, particularly now that we can use CSS variables, because you can just load up all the particular images you want as a variable and then put them wherever you want. So I think that this is more of a trending way to do things, better practice than doing Fontastic. But I did want to make you aware of Fontastic. It's still very popular, particularly for this kind of thing, right? But it's the serious downside of Fontastic is you have no control over the font glyph. All you can control is whether the glyph is included or not. You can't animate it. You can't change its color other than to change the color for the whole glyph, just like any other font letter. So I think Fontastic is kind of on the way out, in exchange for making very precise SVGs that you can animate, because you can't animate any SVG unless it's included in your source. It can't be an external resource that you load. You can't animate those. But if it is included as a part of your source in some way, you can animate it. Now, in this case, it's a URL, so I wouldn't be able to animate that one. But you can do SVG inline, and I've already showed you inline SVGs that I've animated on RDBXGG from before. There's other videos where I showed you that I made, like, the letters glow and get big and small and everything. And that's all from SVG animation. So why is that related to fonts? Because, we talked about fonts, we talked about loading fonts, getting creative with fonts, and that kind of thing. And ligatures. Ligature is another huge modern thing. Like, as of 2 years ago, 2019 was the real big year of ligatures, because Windows came out with ligatures in their new terminal that they haven't updated in over 20 years, and they made a big deal about ligatures in the new terminal. If you don't know what a ligature is, just go watch the promo video for the new Microsoft terminal, and you can see the ligatures where you put two equal signs and a greater than sign, and it becomes a ligature that puts them all together. It makes it a two character width ligature. And you're going to start to see a lot more of that coming in the future. I don't know how that's going to play out, but that'll be interesting. Changing text color. Text color is a no-brainer. You just, anything that you're selected, just do color for the foreground and background for the background. The colors are by name. They're also by hexadecimal value, which, some like 5 sessions ago we talked about. And you can also shorten it, and it assumes a 0 in between if you want to do this. You can also do the old school RGB, which is totally fine. But whenever you're picking colors, if you something to show about color picking really quick, I've already shown you this before, but let's say you want to change your background, and you've got, oh gosh, where's my thing? Okay, so let's change. I want to change this background. So inspect element on the background, or the footer. Let's make my footer a different. That font is pretty dark. Let's say I wanted to change that font. So I can go look for the font color here, and let's see. I use this is another. I'm going to tell you right now. We haven't learned about variables yet, but I strongly recommend that all of the colors you use on your entire site be put into variables that can be reused on every page. The reason for this is how you get different color themes for your site that your users can change. Because if you put them in variables like this, you can make a button that says which theme would you like, and then you click on the button and it changes all the variables, and then everything on your site's colors change. And you could, if you want to do this right, you can give them the granularity to change each individual color, or you can say, here's this set of colors that go well together, and then you pick from the color palette just like you would do in Solarized or Groovebox for your web page, and then you can change the colors for your entire site. And so you can create individual themes, dark mode, light mode, like that, and you can switch back and your whole site's colors will change. And the only thing that changed was CSS variables. That's it. Everything else is the same. And variables, in case you're wondering whether you can use them or not, good old can I use, like we always check. Can I use variables, CSS variables? And here's your answer, a definitive yes. You can definitely use them, particularly on the biggest browser in the world, Chrome for Android, most popular browser used in the world right now. This Chrome is the second biggest one right now. Regular Chrome and Chrome for Android constitute, so that's 37. Man, that went up. 37.5%. and 26.6%. So 37, so 38 plus 26, 30, it's 50, what is that? I don't know, 60 something. So that's like over 60%, 65% or so of all the internet is Chrome. So just so you know, and that's pretty big. There's, Firefox, we love our Firefox, but it's like 3% of people, 5% of people actually use it to do anything. So do not design for Firefox. Make sure it works in Firefox, but you should be designing for Chrome. And that means Vivaldi if you don't want Chrome. If you want something that's a little less proprietary. Chromium, Vivaldi, I've been looking at starting to use that myself, is a version of Chromium. Anyway, so yes, you can use CSS variables. This is how you change the styles, and we're going to go back and take a look at how that affects my colors. So I don't know which color is being used right now on here. I imagine, well, I can tell you right now actually. Inspect element. So footer is using. What is footer using? Color. Okay, there we go. So that's the actual color that's being. Oh, that's not color. That's not footer. Where's footer? Footer, where are you? Where are you? Okay, foot. All right, here we go. So looks like foot's not using anything. Oh, that's class foot. Okay. Well, if I wanted to, I could change the color here. Let's do that. So font. So color. I don't know if this is going to override it or not. Probably not. Nope. But if I wanted to, you guys remember important. I'm going to do something that I don't recommend anybody ever do, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's supposed to work. That's actually not, it's not overriding it. Well, all right. Well, let's try background color. How about that? Background, you can just do background by itself or background-color. They're the same. And that will change the background color. Font is color though, and something is blocking it. Oh, so let's go to computed, right? Because I don't know what's going on. Why my color's not changing? Somebody tell me. Well, let's go figure it out. So it says that my colors are coming from FG color that's being set an inline 31. Ooh, we have an inline going on. Where is that? So AdSense. Okay, so AdSense is getting There we go. See this right here? So AdSense got a character definition of low, and I can change that definition to be dash dash whatever a color. But if I wanted to get a sense of what the color would look like, see this? I can change the color, and then I get the color contrast here. But more importantly, I can get the value. Yeah, there we go. RGB is over here. That color is there. You can cut and paste that color and put that into your style sheet, and you're good to go. There's a new company bought out the old company hosting it, took it offline. Oh, which one? That thing? A website that was taken off the internet. I tried downloading from the Wayback Machine. I'm going to try and see if I can relocate, can local host it for easy viewing. Yeah, it'd be fun, right? Particularly if you're going to show it, and educate. I think it's a fantastic creation. It's really, really fun. It's a really great design tool to show people. So anyway, that's how you change colors. That was the thing that we're talking about in the book. We're coming up on 1 o'clock here. Where we're going to be done. But so that's what's up with colors. That's how you change those. You can use these colors here. There's an infinite number of them. I sometimes use the standardized colors. I've told you guys about CPick, right? So let me show you about, I told you about CPick. If you want to do terminal development, my buddy and I, Ethan, have made this tool. I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again. It's called CPick, and it lets you pick any number of colors and in the terminal. So you have to make sure you have 1 million of colors terminal activated. So that's why I didn't make a new window. My TeamLux isn't set for it right now. And you can like tab through all the different colors, but I'm showing you this because of all these things you can do. So it says here, oh gosh, that's like hurt my eyes. Quitting the application. Well, if you press the enter to create a new saturation value, space to select the color preset table, tab to switch to the saturation value. Okay, so let's do space. So okay, so we're gonna push space. So see, this space goes to all these different colors, and these colors that are listed are the CSS colors, and you can actually use the CSS colors in your terminal if you want, and this will show you how to do that if you want to use them. But the reason I really like this is that obviously, DevTools is the best way to get a good color and see how it works. But if you want to play around with the terminal and you want to use your colors, you can also do this. There's lots and lots of these colors. We have CSS page colors. I don't think I have them on my set. There's actually a whole set of non-CSS colors that are there's just colors for everything. It's just really fun. And once you get up there, you can pick the saturation value, and you can go in and pick here, and they'll actually print out the color that you pick to the screen. Mine's not set to do right now, but if you want to play around with that, that is it's a tool called CPick. I can get you the link. So yeah, it's from, if you go to GitLab and search for, he's still on GitLab, I think. I think it's Ethan D. Baker. Since we talked about color again, I always bring this up. If you go to Ethan Baker and then CPick, there you go. He's written quite a few things actually that you might find interesting. So with that there, back to this. A couple questions from people here. Yeah, see if the local, yeah. Is it easy to make a website work on Chrome but not on Firefox? Yeah, by using one of the Google only tools. Is not a web standard. How easy does it happen that websites does not work on Firefox but on Chrome? It depends on the tool you're using, but one specific way that I've been burned by this is how Firefox deals with whitespace. So Firefox registers whitespace as its own node, and Chrome doesn't, which becomes really problematic when you're dealing with pre-formatted text, like in a code block. And the only thing I can say is just you have to try it in both. There's just no way around that. And any good web developer would tell you that. At some point you need to have it in all of the things, and a really professional web developer they'll use a tool like Browser Sync, which I'm just going to mention and give you a link to, but I'm not going to go into depth on it. Browser Sync is a very, very well-known professional tool to help with all of this. It might be IO actually. Yeah. Browser Sync allows you to preview your page on multiple resources at the same time. So you can have it on an iPad and a mobile phone and a tablet and a window that's running Chrome and a window that's computers that could be separate computers. It doesn't even have to be the same computer running Chrome and Vivaldi and whatever and Firefox. You can have and you should see it. There's people who have Browser Sync set up who have a wall. They have a wall of devices. Now you should never design for a device, but it's just that nice cozy feeling that that your works anywhere kind of design approach has actually panned out, and you're looking at a wall of mobile devices. Some design shops have this. They have like every single device is plugged in, and so they can go preview. They can pull up any website, and Browser Sync will automatically update every single thing in real time, including like if you type into a forum, it will type into the forums on every single page. It's super cool, and that will lets you do the final analysis about whether something works in Firefox and Chrome. It's really the only way to do true web development. I mean, if you're really getting, looked at and you're a design shop and you're not some guy making, a web page for his live stream like me, then, that level of scrutiny, you really have to look at all of them if that's your job, if your job is design. And if it's not, you should still make an effort to be good to deal with it, right? It's funny because the smarter you are, it's almost the worse your web page is. That's not completely fair. I know, but it's like, if you like, let me give you an example of this. So like, Brian Ford, who invented PEG, and if you read his paper, his academic proof of PEG, you'd be like, okay. But you see his webpage, and I just have to laugh because it's like, I mean, he's the one who literally wrote the paper on parsing expression grammars, and I mean a paper, but this is his website. Or is it? I can't find his paper. Oh, I can't even see right now. It's binfo. I guess binfo.info. Yeah, I love him, man. He's so great. I'm so thankful for this dude living. I mean, he's really brought us some amazing things that are going to revolutionize the internet, actually. I believe. But his website, I mean, it's accurate, it's not bad, but it's like, it's this old, it's like past work at MIT. It's like, I'm having fun, Brian. If you come across this, don't take it wrong. But if you're like, Adi Osmani, who's famous, he's the Google guy, doing all the web stuff, Chrome stuff. No fluff, screw CSS. Exactly. I've been intimidated, Brian. I'm so dumb compared to he's got a different skill set. Don't let anybody make you feel you have a different Dungeons and Dragons character. You know what I mean? It's like some people roll really high on charisma and communication ability, and some people are like really high on comeliness and zero intelligence, and some people are like remarkably intelligent and also remarkably beautiful, and other people, everybody's got, some people are just, they can take a beating. Everybody has got a different strength. It's more about finding out what you rolled and how to make the best character for what you rolled. And I'm only sort of kidding about that. It's true. You have to figure out what were the stats you rolled before you came to this earth to play this role-playing game of life in this body you have. What are your stats and what are your strengths? I joke about that all the time because my wife and I, we talk about pretend like deals with the universe we made before we came here. Like, okay, I'm going to be this, but I'm going to pay this for it in exchange, or I'm going to have this experience, but I'm going to have to go through this other experience to get to that experience in order to earn it, and it's fun. It's all just make believe pretend, but it's a lot of fun. I think we're about ready to wrap up here. I want to look at this book a little bit more, go down through it. The foreground, we talked about foreground and background, selector types, group selectors. We talked about that. So you can put selectors together and put commas in between them. Nothing fancy there. We've already covered that. The character space between element names means that the second element must be contained within the first element. All right. So this is different. You've done commas between things, right? But we haven't done this. If you put a space in between, this is super important. And I've left the comma off and just been scratching my head about why something didn't work. Comma means either this or this. It means if this is there, if I match this, do it. If I match this, do it. But this means if I match this, that is contained in this. It's very important. So it's a selector type. So that's one of the ones we haven't covered yet. And here's a good example of it. So LIEM, right? LIEM. So these are the EMs inside of LI. And it has to be, I think it's the immediate first descendant. Yep. Descendants are indicated in a list separated by character space. The example targets emphasize text, but only when they appear in list items. I'm pretty sure it has to be an exact descendant. There can't be anything in the middle, if I remember right. So here we go. There's a bunch of them, right? So H3, an EM within an H3. Here's an EM within an H2, an EM within an H1. Oh, this is interesting. It's also possible to nest descendant selectors several layers deep, but they have to be attached. I don't think you can skip. You might be able to. I'm trying to think of a way I could test that. Let me try that. Let's try that. So let's try to test that selector type. So let's try. What can I do that with? So here we have, I only want a bigger, well, there's only one bigger, so there's nothing on there. We need to do one that's got more leeway. Let me see here. Our ugly one, let's do that. So what is this thing here? Let's see if we can find that. So that is, all right, so that's a mark, which is, we made up our own element. That's not really a thing. So that's a mark that is inside of what? Inside of a P tag. But is it also inside of a body? What is the thing here? So that's a mark that's inside of a body. What I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to do this. So let's see. So if I do mark like that, it will pick it automatically because it's the only element in the whole thing, right? You might be able to skip. I think you might be able to skip. That's what I'm about to test. So if we can do HTML mark, then we know that this works, right? So to test this, we're just going to make the color cyan. I always do this. So that worked. So you can skip. So it's any descendant, apparently. That's good. That's good. I had some sort of memory to that effect, but that's definitely it. So that means I can do HTML. That means I can do P mark. I can't do bigger mark because there's no such thing, right? That should probably fail, right? I should be able to do P mark though, because why? Because it's in a paragraph. I can't do H1 mark because why? There's no mark within an H1, right? So that gets rid of it. That, by the way, if I do that and I go up here and I change, I make an H1. Where's an H1? Do I have one? I think I have an H1. So if I go to this H1, let's do that. Introduction. Let's mark Linux right here. Mark. This should make this cyan if it works. Boom. So, oh wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Why is that escaping it? Because, you know what, that's a bad example. We could do span. Let's do this. Let's do I instead. Italics, which is not italic, but why is that? It's not rendering it. That should be rendering it. I don't know. It's definitely descends, so we just figured that out. So we answered the question, but I have another problem that I don't feel like working on right now. So it works. So we just proved that it could be, doesn't have to be the immediate descendant. It could be, maybe there's something in the between here and it's like down here, right? It would still work. So ID selectors, you guys have already learned about ID selectors, right? ID selectors just by hashtag. We've already talked about that at length. You can combine IDs with the hashtag like this. You can say, I only want the list items that are also a specific ID. And you can combine all these things together. So you can say, I want only the ID resources that only the A's that are inside of an ID resources. And it's pretty intuitive. So give that some time to read through that if you want to. And combinators. I wish you wouldn't have brought these up yet. She's like going down the selector path, and there's like some 22 different selectors, and they're amazing. You should learn them all. But I don't feel like we should break them all down right now. The child selector is simple, but it targets only the direct children. There we go. That's the one. So you got that S work. Yeah. So this is the one I was trying. This is one I confused. So if there's just two things and there's just a space here that says if EM is any descendant of P. But in this case, it's like if EM is the direct descendant of P. So that's the one I was looking for before we tested that out. So we have that answer now. This is a really weird one. This is a sibling. It's like this pick P only if it comes right next to an H1. Yeah. Yeah. So this one says only pick P if it comes exactly right next to an H1. So plus is a sibling. It's like right next to it. And, this is a weird one. The subsequent sibling selects any element that shares a parent. So it's kind of the same idea with like any descendant, right? Except for it's like any sibling over here at all. Or, for you it would be looking like this, like any sibling over here that exists at all is what you want. So that means it doesn't have to be the immediate next sibling. It can be like, you could be the first child and then it could be like the third sibling, and then it would be like, okay, it still works, right? So that's kind of useful. And class selectors, we've already talked about this. So it's the same with the IDs. You just use dots. So the same thing as before, except for you just attach it to the thing, and it says, I want all the P's that have dot special. And this is very, very common syntax. You'll see this a lot. Specificity. Chapter 11 introduces the term specificity, which refers to the fact that most specific selectors have more weight when it comes to handling style rules. Now that you have a few more selectors, it's a good time to revisit that concept. So inline styles with style attribute are more specific and will override. Inline, that means they're written inside the element, right? ID selectors, we talked about that. They're more specific, will override class selectors, which will override individual element selectors. So there you go. To calculate specificity, start to drawing the box. Okay, she's having you do an exercise here. So the specificity thing, you're just going to need to play around with it. Honestly, this exercise is nice, but I think it's more important that you practice playing around with this stuff. No amount of me talking to you is going to make that easier. Just do a lot of CSS and see, well, why isn't this getting picked up? And that will help. A real good practice when you're playing around with CSS is to make whatever it is in your selector exploration turn the background to cyan or to some color that you remember that you can see. I like cyan because I never use it. So if I want to see if the selector is actually working, all of a sudden my thing will turn cyan, right? If the selector is not working, I don't get any color. And it's a really great way to test selectors. And that's the best way to do that. The rest of this is just information about practicing. It's talking about block quotes. We've done that. Universal selector. Be very careful about the universal selector because it applies to everything. I do have one. It's a good way to do normalization, which means just makes everything the same. But you need to be really careful with it because it's very heavy-handed. It says here, be aware that every element will be selected with universal selector, including some that you might not expect to style. You should almost never use it unless you're doing a normalizer of some kind. That's commonly where you'll see it at the very top of the document, to like turn all the more margins off and turn all the padding off and everything else, because you want to set those things explicitly instead of trusting your browser style sheet to do it for you, because they differ between browsers, even though everybody's running, 65% of the internet's running off Chrome right now. And what is that? 65% is Chrome. I think it was like 5% are running Firefox, which leaves 30% is Safari, or what is it? Was it iPhone? Was it Safari? I don't remember. We had it up. Yeah, it's like iOS Safari. Yeah, Safari. So Safari is, yeah, well, I would have thought it was more than that. Actually, no, I guess I'm wrong. Oh, no, there's another Safari here too. So yeah, that's about right. Yeah, Edge. Yeah. It's amazing how few people run. Edge used to be, the Microsoft Internet Explorer used to be huge. Everybody used it. And now Edge is only like, it's like 3% of the world use Edge. 3%. That's nothing. It's like so different. We live in such a different, in the 90s, this would have been the tall pool on the whole thing. And, it would have been a different story completely. Well, there wasn't even a Google back then. But using selectors. So here you go. Go around, practice with your selectors and your fonts. So that looks like that's the theme for today, is fonts and selectors and skeuomorphic and flat design. That seems to be what we've ended up concluding on today. And that leaves us at the beginning of page 287. Let's see. What page are we on? Yeah, we're on text line adjustments. So we'll pick up here tomorrow at 10 o'clock again. I'm going to do this until we get through the whole thing on Saturday and Sundays, 10 o'clock my time. And we'll be doing another 3 hours. And I hope to be able to bust through. I'm going to end up with, several dozen hours of content just for this one book. But I still feel like it's worth it because, people can sit through it. They can fast forward through it. They can do whatever they want. But at some point, it is very comprehensive. So if somebody wants that, maybe not boost material, but it's definitely going through everything. We haven't even touched, layouts and grid and stuff, which is going to be important. Nor have we touched minimal JavaScript or images. So it's gonna be several dozen hours of content if somebody really wants to go through it. But it'll make you a better person if you go through it, even if you don't dive into the depth that we go into. Most people visit the web with a phone. Yep. And the reason I thought it was interesting that there were so many Android devices when in America everybody seems like they have an iPhone, is because you have to count the people in countries that don't have iPhones, that can't afford iPhones. There's a lot of people who are on lower end phones using Chrome all over the world, and they're not paying their crazy amount of money for an iPhone, and I think that's kind of interesting. In America, I would imagine the percentage of iPhones is a lot higher. America and Europe, I bet it's a lot higher. Probably but in Asia, no. Asia is, I don't know. I would really love to see geographic statistics about phone use, about browser usage. That would be really interesting. If anybody has anything about that, I'd love to see it. So there you go. We're going to pick up with text line adjustments tomorrow at 10. I'm going to be gone for a good 5 hours or so. I will be back tonight doing some streaming of some kind. I'll probably be hacking on my knowledge management tool. So if you want to join in for that and just have fun, you can ask random questions, do whatever. It's just a live stream. There's really no rules. And mostly just me working on stuff. But that's going to do it for me for this. I'm going to check in on the questions and I'm going to call it. So what I've always said, Best Buy and similar stores sell $60 smartphones in a pay-as-you-go plan. Those users matter too. They totally do. I'm really glad you said that, VSDH, because, I think when you look at the actual statistics of usage, not to mention all the Android devices that are built into Internet of Things devices, I mean, the toasters out there are not running iOS. They're running Android, and it's gonna just keep going that way. It's not gonna change. There's this sort of marketing driven myth that Safari and iPhone and things like that have a higher percent. Even Firefox. From where I'm sitting in my community, most of the people that are in my community use Firefox. So to say that only 3% of the world uses Firefox is really jarring to me, because let's be real. What percentage of people use Link's text browser? 0.001%. That's fine. We're a small minority. Who's faster than the rest of the world? That's fine. I don't really care. As long as you just don't take it away from me. I would definitely not spend more than $60 on a smartphone. Yeah. Well, I'm Mr. Flip Phone right now, so I'm gonna have to get a smartphone for work again. But I'm Mr. Flip Phone because I don't need a smartphone. I have 6 smartphones in storage right there that I could still use, leftovers, from all different, including a brand new iPhone. But we don't use them. You don't use them. It's just not worth it. So at some point I might use it. My wife needs it more than I do because she's an artist and she's doing lots of Instagram stuff because it's all visual. But yeah. So as you're developing, just don't forget all those users out there. Most of the people looking at your web content are going to be on a mobile device. So I like the flipping. I know it's very Star Trek. I mean, if you're like a near boomer like me, I'm not a boomer, but if you're like a boomer like me, like flipping the lid, like, Scotty, beam me up. I mean, that's like so Star Trek. It's like, this is literally better than the communicators on Star Trek. We live in the future. I'll never get tired of that. That's the great thing, living through the time we're given. I mean, we're stuck in our rooms because of COVID. Oh well, we could have been fighting through the Black Plague. We live in an interesting time, but there's a lot of good things about our time going on. I'm gonna have a nice rest of my Saturday, and then this evening I will be coming back to just relax and code with y'all. If you're here, if you want to join me, I don't mind mentioning. I'm mostly interested in asking you to spread the word. So take a moment and share. Hopefully the stream with other people so they can benefit from it. It's an amazing community that I have continued to gain stuff from, and that's why I do it. That's why I do it. God knows I'm not getting rich on it. So I'm doing it mostly because of all the value I get from the community out of it, and that's value that can be shared, that can go around. So, and we've had people make job contacts. We've had people reach out and have their problems fixed, and others just all kinds of things. So invite others to our community. If you feel the need to Patreon me, I got that $2 a month thing if you want to do that. But then just do the like and the subscribe thing. I don't have any subs on Twitch because I broadcast to YouTube simultaneously with Twitch, and Twitch does not allow me to have subs and to be an affiliate if I do that, which I find completely stupid. But that's Twitch's decision, not mine. All 57 viewers are still here. Thank you for staying. You know what? Look at that. I don't even have to look at it anymore because I got the bridge. Yay. But our poor YouTube people. Hey, YouTubers, you're not second-class citizens. We're working on getting you a bridge. It's actually YouTube's fault. I'm going to blame YouTube on this. I love YouTube for this. Their analytics are better on many levels, and they obviously have transcoding and all that stuff. But what they don't have is a really good chat interface. The chat interface on YouTube is horrible. It's not even real time. We have to make a bot that fetches a batch of live chat messages every once in a while rather than just logging in and having it see everything. And we're working on a bot that will just log in and do that, but it's going to take a little bit longer than some of the other stuff. So you can chat in Discord, or you can chat if you want to watch on YouTube and then chat in Discord. You can do that. If you go to under live, there's live hashtag stream in there. You can click on that. That's now been bridged. Thanks to Vera. Vera, thank you very much for doing all this for me. And then we have, the Twitch bridge as well. at this point, at one point I was recommending people watch on YouTube because of the advertising. It would help maybe defray some of the cost, but the advertising revenue from a stream like this is so totally laughable that there's no money involved at all. And if you actually want to help me, then, you know, buy the merch I eventually will have, or, you know, whatever, you know, do the Patreon thing. And I've learned that this is not going to be a money making thing. So we'll just have to depend on generosity and supplemental income, but I still intend to do it because I love it. Hey Luke, give him the old 1-2. Which one? Which Luke is Luke? Give him the 1-2. You're talking about the skeuomorphic fight. I'm not a smasher. I don't twitch very well. I don't. Smarts doesn't have anything. Doesn't have to be pretty. Yeah, Smarts can be pretty, or it doesn't have to be pretty, right? It can be any one of those. It's been really great. Thanks, people. I'm gonna go ahead and knock it off and just let you watch the rain for bed. Make it a good Saturday, huh? Bye. Oh boy. There we go.